The China Report for Wednesday, May 8, 2013. China trade data beats expectations, skepticism remains. China's exports and imports grew more than expected in April, offering the possibility of a better outlook for the world's second-largest economy, but the figures failed to put an end to skepticism that financial maneuvering by exporters and speculative capital inflows are masking weakness in real demand. China's exports rose 14.7% in April, while imports grew 16.8%, leaving the country with a trade surplus of $18.16 billion for the month, the Customs Administration said on Wednesday. That compared with market expectations for a 10.3% rise in exports, a 13.9% increase in imports and a trade surplus of $15.1 billion. From a month earlier, exports edged up 2.7% while imports fell 7.7%. Chinese export data in recent months has seemed to signal to a gradual revival of external demand, though some analysts suspect exporters may have overstated their business to sneak funds into the country and avoid capital restrictions. China reduces banking lifeline to end Korea. China reduces banking lifeline to end Korea. The Bank of China has stopped doing business with a large North Korean bank, falling into line with a U.S.-led sanctions push to restrict funding for Pyongyang's nuclear program. The decision to close the bank account follows an increase in tensions on the Korean peninsula and may be a sign that Beijing is willing to place more pressure on Pyongyang. The U.S. Treasury hit the Foreign Trade Bank, North Korea's main foreign exchange bank, with sanctions in March, saying it was a key financial node in North Korea's nuclear and missile proliferation activities. The bank had not been named among the institutions targeted for asset freezes by expanded UN Security Council sanctions introduced in January and March. Other countries such as Japan and Australia have since joined the U.S. in applying sanctions against Foreign Trade Bank, but cooperation from banks in China, North Korea's closest economic partner, is essential in the efforts to choke off cash flows. China should reconsider who owns Okinawa. China's top newspaper on Wednesday published a call for a reconsideration of Japan's sovereignty over the island of Okinawa, home to major U.S. bases, with the Asian powers already embroiled in a territorial row. The lengthy article in the People's Daily, China's most circulated newspaper and the mouthpiece of the ruling Communist Party, argued that China may have rights to the Ryukyu Island chain, which includes Okinawa. Unresolved problems relating to the Ryukyu Islands have reached the time for reconsideration, wrote Zhang Haipeng and Li Guoqiang, citing post-World War II declarations which require Japan to return Chinese territory. The authors are scholars at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, considered China's top state-run think tank. The article also repeated Chinese government arguments for China's historical claims over a set of tiny uninhabited islets in the East China Sea known as Diaoyu in Chinese and Senkaku in Japanese. The two nations have stepped up a war of words over the dispute in recent months, with Beijing's vessels regularly entering the waters around the Tokyo-controlled islands, stoking fears of armed conflict. China approves GM's $1.3 billion plant. China has approved U.S. automaker General Motors' plan to build a $1.3 billion plant in Shanghai, the official media said. Xinhua News Agency, quoting the automaker, said the plant with a production capacity of 150,000 units would be located in Shanghai's Jinqiao district and construction is expected to begin next month. GM has been seeking to drive up sales of its Cadillac and other luxury brands in China. The company already is reported to have 15.2% of China's automotive market, the world's biggest by sales volume. We want to build where we sell. That is very important to us, GM spokesman Alan Adler in Detroit was quoted as saying. The Los Angeles Times, quoting HIS Automotive Consulting, said automotive sales in China are expected to be about 20.5 million vehicles this year and expanding to more than 30 million by the end of the decade. That's the China Report for today. Zaijian.